right. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Wealth Edit Wednesday. We're very excited to have Maureen Grable here today of M Donohue Designs. It's yet again, I know we say this almost, or at least we've said this almost every week for the last 4 weeks, was that this is another awesome Southern business owner that we met at the Southern Sea. If y'all have not gone to a Southern Sea conference, you must, because it is a wonderful way to network and just get to know what else is going on in and around the country with women-owned businesses. It's just so fun. So thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
And I would love for you to just, let's start by you sharing kind of who you are and how you got to where you are today.
Sure, yes. So I'm Maureen, and I live in Fort Worth, Texas now. I am originally from Marietta, Georgia. I grew up there and lived in the same house my whole childhood, and I'm the youngest of 4 siblings. So I have always been creative and just love to make things and create things and design things. And then I moved to Texas in 2001 and was excited to get to Texas. And I started my own jewelry business in around 2004.
I love that. I mean, it's so fun to see. I love when people share the story that they start off with a passion, and even as a child that they've been creative from the beginning, and now seeing how that plays out into adulthood. I know I look at that all the time, just having 2 girls myself, and wondering, what will they do with their lives, but seeing how, many times we have these talents that we've cultivated since we were young and siblings,
Yeah.
And
I was always in my mom's jewelry box.
Yes.
I mean, she would just kind of roll her eyes like, oh, she's been in it again, because I was always just in there pulling things apart, trying things on, and dressing up.
Well, I love that. I actually have this necklace on today, and last time I was with my parents, I went through my mom's jewelry box and I found this, and I said, where did that come from? But it has my grandmother's initials on it. So it was my grandmother's necklace. And so I think I might have worn it every day since, but I was so excited to find that treasure, because I said, may I take it and just use it? And she's like, yeah, I never wear it. So it's funny, that is such a fun treat to be able to go through the jewelry boxes and kind of see through generations of treasures.
Yes, they're more like treasure chests.
Exactly. Well, so one of the things when you and I were talking yesterday, where you said that you chose not to go to college, that you really wanted to go into retail. And that's something that especially caught my attention, because oftentimes now it's kind of like this given, and students are pushed into doing something maybe they're not quite ready to do, or maybe it's not like their best skill set. And so I really do try to talk to my girls about that, as we navigate what's next for them. So tell us what, instead of going to college directly out of high school, you chose to go into retail. Tell us a little bit about what that looked like to get you sort of into the decorating world.
Sure. Yes. So my very first job in high school was at a women's dress boutique, and I loved working there and visiting with people and just getting to be in that environment of selling things and prettying things up for displays. And so after I graduated from high school, I knew that college, I really didn't know what exactly I wanted to do. And college just didn't seem like the right fit for me at the time. There have definitely been hurdles to having not gone to school, but there have been some big pluses as well. So I started working for a local French home and garden shop in Marietta, and I was probably the youngest employee for sure. I think I was around 18 or 19, and they really poured into me and gave me a lot of responsibility. And I did a good job. I loved the store displays and working with the customers and helping unpack new merchandise. And so I just really gravitated towards all that and loved doing it. And then that job led me into working for a French linen and textile company, a job that I actually found in the newspaper, which
Oh,
is
wow.
so funny because, just a sign of the times. But it was a random little block ad, and I called about it, and it was just meant to be. So I started working for Yves Saint Laurent, and that was again a lot of responsibility, and I loved it. I just loved it. And so I was on a trip to France with the company, and I really was ready to leave the Atlanta area. And I was talking with my boss over lunch and saying, where can I go? I'd love to go somewhere and open a store for the company. And he offered me to go to either California or Texas. And something in me always wanted to get to Texas. So I was like, this is my chance. And I moved like a month and a half later to Texas in the
And
middle of the
opened
hot
a
summer.
store in the mall.
Yes, opened their first ever boutique inside of an indoor shopping mall. It is, I believe the mall's still there, a high-end shopping mall. And this was their first concept inside a mall. They had always had stores in outdoor shopping centers. And so it was a lot of work. It was a lot of work just getting the store up and running. And I really enjoyed it, and then decided to move again with the company, but not quite so far. Moved over to Fort Worth, and that's where I have been ever since. And I, ended up leaving Yves Saint Laurent and going to work for an interior designer here in Fort Worth that I knew through a mutual friend. And she needed help. It was just, she was doing everything on her own really, and needed help. And so I was able to step in and really get involved with her business. And we did all sorts of projects, small, large, in between, everything in between.
Yeah. Well, as I hear your story, one of the things that stands out to me is that you're the type of personality that will say yes, to just adventure, and even knowing that it's going to be really hard work, you lean into it, which is such a huge asset to those who are, entrepreneurial minded. Was your mom or dad very entrepreneurial? Where did you see that behavior modeled, or were you just were you like your siblings, or did you stand out as being a little different?
That's an interesting question. I can't really think of exactly where I learned that. I mean, my mother was definitely a hard worker at home. She was a stay-at-home mom of 4, and she worked very hard to raise all of us. And my father was also an extremely hard worker. And they both have wonderful skills. I really don't come from a family of startup businesses, but somewhere along the line that just kind of resonated with me.
Well, I just think sometimes it's just work ethic, and I'm sure in a large family, you have to be independent and pull your own weight around, because that's just what makes the world go round in that type of situation. I love that. But I love how you just said yes to so many different things, and broaden your horizons to sure, I can move to Texas and try something new. And I think, as many people that listen to this podcast are also raising their children and thinking, how to encourage them as they find their passion and their purpose and their jobs, is not to be afraid to say yes to something that might feel a little outside of your comfort zone, but to go, because you never know what the stepping stone will be to, you just don't know what door it'll open. So you went in with a friend who needed help doing decorating, and you helped her. And somewhere along the way, you decided to start designing jewelry.
Yes. So just really on a whim. I mean, this was before all the online shopping and Amazon and Instagram and just all the things. I mean, I just, I wish, I can't really recall at the moment, what it was or how. I mean, I'd certainly made bracelets as a kid and things like that, but I did. I started sourcing and finding beads and chains and making necklaces and earrings. And I just made things that I wanted to wear. And I would wear it, and I would wear it to these client meetings, and um, they would want to buy it from me. So that's kind of the beginning of that. And then one of our clients, it was a large project, and it was a house being built, and totally it was just an enormous project. And she was so fun to work with, and she was so gracious. Once her house was finished, she said, well, let's have a trunk show here for you. Bring your jewelry and set it up, and I'll invite all my friends, and let's have a trunk show. And so that was so kind of her. Will never forget that feeling of like, wow, I can't believe she's doing this for me. And that really launched my business. So many people came, they bought off of samples. They didn't even get to leave with the piece. And I took orders, and then I got busy and had to fill the orders, and that built up momentum. And that's really how the brand started. And I still have clients today that came to that very first trunk show. So that's endearing. And I have some very loyal clients that I love.
Well, I love that. So did you, from that point, at what point did you make the decision to quit decorating and go into jewelry design exclusively?
Yes. So I was young and single at the time, and I did love the design world, but I also had this inkling that I wanted to grow my brand and see where that could go. And things were going well. And so I thought, well, let's do it. And I am kind of a risk taker. You
are. I love it.
Just to quit my job and say, I'm going to figure this out. But that's what I did. And I would do markets and home shows, and I would go back to Georgia and do shows. And then at the time, wherever I had a family member, I would pop up. And
so mainly home shows.
Yes.
Yeah.
Home shows, and then little markets. Like sometimes the school will have like a holiday market.
Yeah.
That was always a big thing too, but lots of fun. I mean, it's so fun to get to meet new people and share my story and the brand and the jewelry, and to have people love it and want it. That of course feels good.
Yes, absolutely. And so at some point you decided to go, and I know a lot of the people that we talk to that have started businesses do exactly what you're saying. We start with the home shows and the markets. And then, next, did you decide to, when did you decide to do website and all of that?
Yes, so I built a website. My brother actually helped me build the website, or he built it. I probably had very little to do with it. And that was good. But again, this wasn't like, online shopping wasn't the big thing yet. And so it was there, and you needed to have a website, but it wasn't necessarily a huge deal, as big as it is today to have a website. So I did that, and then just kept plugging along at the business and kept doing trunk shows. And then I was having a trunk show here in Fort Worth. I had teamed up with a few other local brands, and we were having I believe it was a holiday show. And there was this darling woman that came to the show, and she purchased, I remember the pearl necklace she bought from me, and she was just so sweet. And then the next day, the hostess of the show said, oh, my friend, she really just loved meeting you and wants to set you up with her son. Actually asked if you're single, and she wants to set you up with her son. And I just was like, oh, wow. Okay. Well, I thought I'd met everybody in this town, but apparently not. So she is now my mother-in-law. She set me up with her son, and I just adore her. And I have the most supportive husband and family. So that's kind of a fun story that really my business is what brought my husband and I together.
Oh, I love that story. It's so Southern too. I think we always want to set people up with somebody. We're always matchmaking, always
I
making
know.
those connections. But I love that. And I know that has to be such a sweet memory between you and your mother-in-law to have that she like handpicked you.
Yes.
I love
Well,
that.
I adore her. And she has amazing style. So
Well, I'm sure. Well, that kind of leads into a question like, where do you get the inspiration for your pieces?
really from all over. I mean, I've always loved antiques and vintage and florals and dresses. So kind of my own personal home style and things I like to wear definitely guide me towards what type of jewelry I want to design and wear. And I try to design pieces that will be worn more than just one season. Something
Mhm.
that is timeless that you'll wear over and over again, that will be your favorite go-to piece,
Yeah.
along with pieces that are a little bit more fun and that you maybe wouldn't wear every day, but you're going to wear it year to year or season to season.
Yeah.
And there's a good mix.
Well, I do think you do a great job, especially a pair that I have that, it's a timeless, kind of has a chinoiserie type feel to it, but it's something that I do feel like I could wear year after year. I mean, it
Good.
feels a little trendy and that like it looks really cute on, it makes a statement, but it is a timeless design. And I can see that in your pieces. And also love the ones on your website that are the flowers, the like blooms. Those are so pretty.
Thank you. Yes, I have those on. I've got them.
Oh yes, you do. You
You
see
can't
it.
quite see the detail because they're
Yes,
white, but
I
those have
just,
been a favorite.
yeah. So how do you, who, yeah, I know you still are like actively involved in making the jewelry. But where do you like source your pieces? So if somebody's interested in like making their own jewelry, I mean, where do you even start when you're finding, I mean, I know if you're making a lot of the same piece, you've got to like find a source of something.
Yes. Yes. I mean, it's a little tricky. It's definitely taken a lot of time and hours of scouring and searching to find my suppliers. And really, I get things from all over. There's not one place. This past summer, I was so tickled because I was in Santa Fe and I went into a bead store in Santa Fe and I bought some beads that this woman had a little container of them, and I just bought everything that she had because a few years earlier, probably like 8 years earlier, I bought 4 or 5 of these beads. And I thought, oh, I'm never going to be able to get any more. They're old, they're vintage. It was that little shop in Santa Fe. And I don't know if I'm ever going to find these again or if the store's ever even, if it's still there. And so this last summer, literally, we were there and my husband was with us and the girls. And I was like, just leave me here. I'll just get a ride home because I'm gonna be here a while. Just leave me.
Yeah.
And I found the little container of what was left of those beads that nobody had bought for years. And so I was like, I'm gonna take them all. And so that's one instance where it was just a random find.
Yeah. Like a hunt.
Yes.
Yes.
And I loved it.
Okay. So you, I know, have moved a little bit from doing home shows and moved more into the wholesale world. So what has that shift been like?
Yes, so that's really been my focus right now, in addition to selling direct to consumer. But I'm trying to grow through wholesale and reach out to stores and just spread the brand throughout stores. I feel like that's a really good way to build brand awareness. So I just every day, all the time, I'm trying to find new stores and reach out. And I have a sales rep that is amazing, and she has a huge list of contacts that she reaches out to. So that's been a big game changer for the business.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure it's nice to have that help. But one thing when we were talking yesterday, you talked about how you are not afraid to get a no. That's something that's kind of always been a part of who you are. And I do think that oftentimes is what sets people apart. Those who like love to sell, and those who say, I don't, I mean, it's funny. It's like people normally fall into one of the two camps. So was that something that you kind of came to over time, or have you just been a natural at that? It sounds like you've been a natural.
I think I've been a natural at that. I've
Yeah.
always enjoyed selling,
Mm-hmm.
and selling my line is so much fun. I love kind of chasing a sale and reaching out and putting it in front of people's faces, and
Mm-hmm.
because I feel very confident in it, that I know the product sells, I know it does well in boutiques, and so therefore, if it's the right fit for them and for me, I want them to know about it.
Yeah. Well, I do think that I do. I mean, I feel like over time I've had to like develop that skill more so. But it's so much easier to sell something that you feel really passionate about. And you like really want other people to know the story. And I do think just when people hear the story, I mean, you connect with the brand. I mean, oftentimes we say that's what we're doing on the Wealth Edit. We want people to hear, the story behind the brands that we all know and love. And we recently had an event here in Birmingham where one of the store owners shared their story. And, we had several people come up and say, I'm so much more likely to shop here now that I know her story. And, it just creates that a bond with a brand that, whether or not we even realize it or not, like we want to help support, like we want to share more about, what you're doing and how you're doing it. So thank you for being willing to share your story today. That is, it's just something that we think is so important, that women hear that we all have different paths, we all make different choices at different times, and we all, maybe have different things that happen in life. And kind of what your story has exhibited today is that, it wasn't like straight path. It wasn't like, okay, I went to high school, I went to college, I graduated with a business degree, I went in-house, I mean, like where it was like there's this steady climb, that it really has been, a series of twists and turns that each is built on it to kind of bring you to where you are today. And, we'll probably continue on, if you think about what your brand will be doing, in the next 5 years, do you have a vision for that? Like where you want to go?
Well, I just would love to keep doing what I'm
Yeah.
doing, and for again, love to continue growing wholesale. And as far as the brand in 5 years, I would just love for more people to have discovered it, and
Mhm.
women enjoy wearing it and sharing it and giving it and gifting it, and just brand growth is what.
Well, if people want to find your brand, where is the best place to find you and your products?
Yes, I have a website, M Donohue Collection, and that's MDONOHUE collection.com. And my Instagram is M Donohue Collection as well.
Yeah, and everybody, please go check it out, because you'll be like sucked in like I was when I started looking at everything. I was like, oh, I like that. I like that.
Oh, thank
Um,
you.
Okay, now let's switch the conversation more towards, the financials that the Wealth Edit we do. Talk about finances, and want women to be able to, just normalize that conversation where it's okay to ask, financial questions. But if you are thinking back on, building your business, and like as you've had to learn the financial side of it, what were some of or maybe what's the biggest lesson that you've learned along the way as it relates to finances? Was that something that you had help with, or did you just kind of figure it out on your own?
I definitely just figured it out on my own. Everything has really been just wing it, figure it out, do it. And, just making sure that you're growing in sales and moving forward.
Yeah.
Always.
I know. Did you? Well, and I think that sometimes we, like to your point, what I've kind of just I've said this so many times, but like when I hear your story, it's like you're very intuitive about what you're doing. You know, you're watching it, and sometimes when you were like selling some products, and did you ever feel like, okay, well, maybe that's not the right direction, I'm going to kind of like veer back in this direction just based on sales and things like that? Because you do have to adjust when you're
Yes,
looking at sales and growth.
definitely. Definitely. I mean, you have
Yeah.
to make sure that the margins are good and that you're moving forward and making money. I mean,
Yeah,
that's the name of the game when you own a
that's
business.
right.
You gotta keep
Okay,
going.
so as we end all of our calls, we always ask the same question, and the question is, why did you say yes to the Wealth Edit, or why do you think it's important that women talk about money?
I definitely think it's important. And I said yes because y'all are so darling and I loved meeting you at the Southern Sea. So I'm honored that you asked me to be a part of this today. And I love your website and everything that you're doing to try to help women
Well,
be
thank you so
more
much.
secure in their finances.
We always say we're so thankful for the mission supporters. You know, there's so many women that have come up and just encouraged us along the way and just said, keep doing it. This is important. So thank you for being one of those. And we look forward to watching your brand and seeing how it grows over time. And hopefully everybody will go check them out and buy a beautiful piece of jewelry. I mean, the bracelets, the earrings, even some adorable handbags. I mean, there's just lots of fun things to see. So thank you so much for being here today, Maureen. We appreciate it so much.
Thank you.
All
I hope
right.
everybody has a great day.
All
I
right. Thank
enjoyed
you.
it.
Oh, thanks. Have a wonderful day.
Okay,
Bye.
bye.